Hi, I'm Jessica, and this is my bus. It's a labor of love, and come on in. This is a 2014 Chevy. It used to be a handy dart over on the North Shore of Vancouver, and it lived its life there. And then I bought it off a couple who moved to New Zealand, and they started the conversion and then they abandoned it. So I think I'm the third person who started the conversion on the bus. All of us introduced some problems into the bus, which needed solutions, but I think that's part of conversion and bus life. So yeah, this is the living part of the bus. My partner, myself, my neighbors, my family have really all taken a role in creating it. This is the dinette, and this lowers down to become a bed. And this summer, my partner and my 6'4" brother and I traveled across BC, and he slept there very comfortably, and we slept up here. So we have a double bed up here with a nice new memory foam mattress, which is super comfy. And we can repurpose this so that we weren't leaning up against the window, and that was pretty cool. Books in there and stuff. So this is my son Aubrey. He died last year of fentanyl poisoning, and of course I keep his photo in the bus with me. Usually I had things here, like a little altar for him, and it's just nice for me to know that he's along with me. I got this bus because I was going a little crazy, and I was having a lot of problems adjusting to my son's death. I got kind of radicalized. I still am quite political about all the toxic drug deaths that have been happening and all the young people dying. Toxic drugs are the leading cause of death in British Columbia for ages 10 to 59. That's like almost everybody. So I was doing political stuff and not very great stuff. In fact, I was kind of acting out, and my efforts were not very focused. And I did a marathon a day around the Ministry of Health here in Victoria I did 14 marathons over, I think, 3 weeks, and then I got tendonitis. Yeah, I was just spinning my wheels. And so the marathon a day was not hugely successful. And so I thought, well, I'll run across BC. And I knew we needed something to travel in. Unlike Terry Fox, who lived at the back of his van, I knew that the people who traveled with me weren't going to like that very much. And I also sensed that I probably was going to take off in the bus after the run across BC. So it seemed to make sense. And then the other thing that I can say really is that I had this big impulse to create a space for myself. Aubrey was my only son. And, I'm looking for a new direction in my life, I think. And this space is such a nice space to be in. I really like it. And my family and friends worked so hard for me. They all bent over backwards, helping me on this kind of loony project, really, that cost a lot of money, actually. But, that's why I bought the bus. This is the kitchen area, which somebody was getting rid of these cabinets. So I went in and put them all in the hatchback of my car, multiple trips, and brought them home. And then I bought this countertop separately. This is it's like a marine propane stove. Jim put those in for me and made the countertop really nice. Storage is underneath here. Lots of storage. There's a secure propane locker over there as well, so that there's no propane leaks. And then here are all the usual food things and dishes. And here's where the gray water goes. It's an old gas can, so no gray water tank. I just empty that every once in a while. There's a 28-gallon freshwater underneath the bed. And then there's a 400-watt solar panel on top of the roof, which my neighbor, who's an electrical engineer, installed for me, and he did all the electrical on the bus. The purpose for the Run Across BC was to put a face to this crisis, because I think a lot of people hear about it in the news, where it is a fairly polarized issue. And I wanted people to have the opportunity to meet with me and my family and talk to us. And we brought along pamphlets and buttons. And I also wanted to go through small towns in BC, because I think incorrectly people think that drugs are like a big city issue. And my son lived in Winlaw in the West Kootenays when he died. It's like there's a gas station there and a corner store. So, drugs are everywhere these days. So, yeah, I just wanted to be a face to that issue and have an opportunity to talk to people. And I also wanted to be in the media. I wanted, and the bus was like a perfect vehicle for that as well, because it was so visual. So people knew where we were and they saw us coming and they were like, oh, are you the people of that bus? And I had a big naloxone sign in the window, and I had 100 kits of naloxone, and I was handing that out to people, and yeah, it felt really cool. I learned that I could be self-sufficient. At one point, I had a leak, and I was on Haida Gwaii, and I was like, where is this water coming from? And I was up on top of the bus in windstorm with my caulking gun and the Sikaflex, and it was just like, and then at one point I just like went to Home Hardware and bought all this poly and put it over the side of the bus. And, I dealt with it, and that was the cool part about it. I got home and I actually figured out it was the water tank that was leaking. It was never in the top of the bus anyway, which was cool that I found that was leaking, because that was going to cause a problem anyway, right? So, I mean, that's bus life though, I'll tell you. Things leak. It's messier than you think. I was driving, and at one point, a thing of cat food fell over, and like for weeks I found cat food everywhere. And the cat's kitty litter box was underneath here. And she's a very fastidious cat, but try as she may, she would track little bits of kitty litter all over the bus. So I was okay with that, So I just learned that I could roll with the punches and deal with things. And some people let me park on their waterfront lot in Haida Gwaii. It was like so cool. I mean, I would just look out the window and there was the inlet, and I would watch the sun go down and the moon come up, and it was pretty darn cool. The previous converters had introduced all sorts of errors with the wiring, pulling stuff out, and it was a mess in here. So he figured out all the wiring, and he installed inverter and charge controller, and he did a really awesome job with that. And the controls are all over here on the side. So I have 12 volt, I have the lights, I have the propane solenoid and charger outlets all on 12 volt. And then I have an AC switch here and an inverter to use AC, which I actually found I hardly ever use. The only one use for AC that I could see now was to charge my laptop. But in fact, my very smart neighbor installed this thing back here, which inverts or does something. Anyway, my laptop connector is connected to that, and that's actually 12 volt, actually. So I can charge my laptop on 12 volt. So if I had to do the whole thing over again, I would probably not put AC in the bus. I would just go with 12 volt. There's also a spot here for a 12 volt cooler. Just got some USB chargers in there now, and the cooler would go in here, and we use that. And there's propane and CO2 down here, and my fire extinguisher. So I felt a lot safer traveling around by myself with propane lines going through the bus, knowing that, and then the wood stove going, knowing that I had this thing, which is also 12 volt, has batteries as a backup, but is wired right into something so that it's always on. I don't have to have the switches go on to use it. I would advise someone who wants to buy a bus or a van to do your homework about the bus, like its actual vehicleness, because it is a vehicle. And I had to replace the gas tank in this bus, and that cost me $3,000. It was like, ouch. And there was nothing I could do about it because there was gas dripping from it. I mean, it just had to happen. And you can't sell a vehicle that has no gas tank. So I realized, oh my God. So do your homework in terms of getting an inspection. Look under it. Look on the top. Look on the roof. Look behind things to see if there's mildew or mold, if someone else has done a conversion, because we found that too. There had been leaks and they had just built over top of it. So we had to pull stuff out and rebuild and be prepared for the fact that it's hard to build inside these things. There's no studs you can just nail stuff into, right? So if you want to do it yourself, I would do your homework in terms of how you build into a bus like this. The things are the easy part. It's actually making sure everything is stuck to the floor and not moving around and is safe. Like, I think this is more aesthetically pleasing than an RV. I definitely love this space, and I love and I say we because, as I've said, so many people helped me out. And a lot of RVs are kind of dark and they just didn't have the aesthetic that I was looking for, the feel. And at that point, it was really important for me. I had some writing. I'm a writer. I had some writing projects that I wanted to do in here. And it felt important that it be a space that I wanted to be in. And as well, my partner is handy. And I think, he said, yes, I would like to take on a project like that. To get an RV, to get one of those Sprinter vans is like entry, $60,000. I don't have that kind of money. So this bus was $14,000. It seemed like a good deal because it was newer. In hindsight, I should have paid less because, I had to do repairs. And I bought it for the size of it as well, because 3 adults can be in here, for 5 weeks and not feel like we are on top of each other. And I knew I could live in here quite easily, and I could. It felt very comfortable to live in here. And then we have the wonderful Dickinson stove, which is just like awesome and keeps it so toasty warm in here. When I was up on Haida Gwaii, I was up there with my cat and my dog. All 3 of us were living in the bus. And the dog was coming in soaking wet, and I was coming in soaking wet. So you can imagine it was kind of like wet. It got wet in here just from us, from our shoes, from the dog. And it was so nice to put that on and just crack a window a little bit, and it just got nice and dry. And then these are the interior of the bus was all done by hand, cedar strips. Jim milled these, I think milled is the right word, my partner, and planed them. And I put most of them up until I had a temper tantrum one day, and then he finished it for me. But this is all yellow cedar. The front of the bus is the part that I'm now trying to finish up because it seemed like a last priority when I was taking off this summer. But I know that people who buy a bus want things to look nice. So now I'm going around and I'm doing the little bits of upholstering over the insulation. I mean, you can't really just like nail into everything in a bus, right? So I had to come up with some kind of homegrown solutions to cover up the insulation. And this passenger seat was a big production because we had to take it in and get it installed down into the frame because, of course, the engine is right here. And it's not an ideal spot to be, underneath the bus and trying to bolt things onto. So there's 2 inches of rigid foam in the floor. There's an inch in the wall. There is Reflectix in the ceiling and in some areas rock wool. So there's rock wool around here. There's rock wool around the bed and in the wheel wells for noise. But having lived in it in cooler weather, I would say that these doors and windows are a primary source of heat loss, particularly this door. So if I were going to live in it in the winter, I mean, in the summer, it doesn't really matter at all, I would find some way to put something over this door and maybe make some kind of better window covers as well. Turn on all the lights. So that's all on 12 volt. And then I've got the little twinkly lights as well. So often on the short days of winter, when I was trying to conserve energy, I found I didn't use a lot of the lights, but I would keep the twinkly lights on because it was just kind of enough light to hang out, and yeah, it was nice. You know, I'm at a funny place in my life, and I've made some impulsive decisions because my heart is really hurting. Any decision that, you know, involves going to live in nature or have an adventure, I think is a pretty good decision because life is short. And, you know, I probably made a mistake buying this bus. I'm never going to get back the hours that we spent in it, or probably even the money and all the screws and the bolts and the Sikaflex and the foam and the this. And, you know, I'll never get back what we put into it. But it's a good experience. And I'm also at a point in my life where I don't want to work like crazy anymore. That's not worth it to me. So my philosophy is, you know, do something good while you're here. Yeah, I'm on Instagram. I think it's called Marathon a Day for Safe Supply. And same with Facebook, Marathon a Day for Safe Supply. And I continue to post on those sites. Some of my writing are on those sites, but also all the trip across BC is on there.
Thanks for watching, and if you enjoyed this video, please share it with a friend. Also, if you want to watch more alternative dwellings, we got a playlist popping up right here, and we release new episodes every single Sunday, so consider subscribing.